I was able to go to my core group and just really bounce it off the people that would lift me up. And I didn't have a lot of people like that, but I knew who I could trust and who I could go to. And they would always give me really good advice.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't have that, what are some things that we could do? The things that we listen to, even the music we listen to. No. Ooh, that's better, right, babe?
Yeah!
Yeah. She founded an architectural concrete company.
He founded a $100 million clothing company.
She took the world by storm as a social media star.
He took the world by storm as a famous serial entrepreneur.
Together we started a business.
And had babies.
Now we're figuring out the best ways to do both.
Join us as we learn from other entrepreneurs going through the same life struggles.
As they share their life hacks about success, love, kids.
And everything in between.
All what you say you are. So choose your words carefully. Don't become what you want. You become what you believe. Quote by Oprah Winfrey.
Welcome to the Pretty and Punk Podcast. My name is Dan Caldwell, and I'm here again, once again, with my beautiful wife and co-host,
Ildiko Ferenczi.
And thank you guys for joining us today. We have another great podcast ready for you guys, and it's super important. I'm not that everything we do or talk about on this podcast isn't important. But
so
this is really important for us. And it's something that is near and dear to both of us because probably closer to me, more to me, because I felt like I struggled with this a little bit when early on in my entrepreneurial career.
I think everybody struggles with this.
How you speak to yourself determines where you are going in life. And it's just something that is so true, and you don't realize sometimes how important it is. I think my TED Talk was somewhat about something like this. It wasn't this exactly, but it was, I had always struggled with kind of negative self-talk or these insecurities that I had for myself. And so it was like something I had to get past.
Right.
Because I struggled with that, I always felt like that I was going to have problems in life trying to get what I really wanted in life because I was dealing with that.
Right.
But you're never like that, were you? Because because when you come at me, you always feel like
I know what it was.
You didn't have these problems.
I feel like I know what it was. But before that...
Hey guys, we hope you're enjoying today's episode of the Pretty and Punk Podcast. And if you are, and you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. It just takes a second. It means so much to us because it really helps the podcast get out there to more listeners like you guys. And if you know anybody it might help and you can send it to them, we really appreciate that too.
We also love and appreciate your reviews. Even the babies look forward to them every day. If you share this episode on social media today, don't forget to tag us. We want to celebrate you because we know it's not easy being a parent in business, and the way that you juggle things makes you a superhero. That's worth a shout out. Together, we have a community of our personal followers as well, and we just want to put it out there. We want to show everybody that this juggle is possible, and you are our family, and we're so proud and grateful to have you a part of this family. So don't forget, all the links are below in the show notes, and thank you again, and let's get back to the show. But I feel we all struggle with this at one point or another in our lives. And what we need is the people around us to kick those ridiculous ideas out of your head. Now, I feel like when you tell me the stories of what you went through, I really feel when you talk about the people around you, you didn't have the people that you needed to lean into, that were supposed to lift you up. They were almost questioning the things that you were going into and giving you anxiety about the decisions you were making. That's not a good feeling.
Well, I mean, I
had
think
a
even
lot of
before that, I
people-
didn't have anybody to
Right,
talk to.
Right. And then you met Charles, and that was your guy.
Yeah.
That was the person that would lift you up, and you can bounce these ideas off of and come up with solutions. So rather than having people around you going, this is never, you do know that this isn't going to work, right? This is like, I don't even like to say the S word or the D word, but people will say that this is not a good idea, and they'll put it into such negative sentences that it's painful, and it makes you question yourself. So I feel I didn't have a lot of that. And when I did have that, I was able to go to my core group and just really bounce it off the people that would lift me up. And I didn't have a lot of people like that, but I knew who I could trust and who I could go to. And they would always give me really good advice.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't have that, what are some things that we could do? The things that we listen to, even the music we listen to.
I think the intake, I mean, we all have these voices inside of our heads
Yes,
that
we
kind
do.
of narrate our lives and take us in different directions. And the thing about that voice is that sometimes that voice can be negative. And that kind of inner dialogue that we have with ourselves, that self-talk that we have with ourselves, it can have this profound impact on our motivation. And I think that that's what I was going through all the time, because it wasn't necessarily the outside forces. I mean, they might say a little something here and there, but nobody was telling me like, you're never going to be able to do this. This is never going to work. They didn't say that. They didn't have to say that because I had filled those in myself.
Right.
I had filled in all that information for myself. I was telling myself that, oh my gosh, somebody would say, well, what are you going to do about this? And then I would blow that up in my head like,
you would
my
add
gosh,
to it.
what am I going to do
I know
about
there was
that?
a few people that you
work.
said were trying to rip down the ideas, and that was really negative for you. But I could see how you would build to the story that was being said, and you would blow it up to be something else. And that is something we all have to be very careful with, because you could potentially spiral, and you could blow your God-given destiny or a really great business idea.
Well, I think self-talk is so important.
100%.
I mean, it's when I learned to control those thoughts. I mean, now I feel so powerful. I never question anything that's going through my head.
Not in a negative way.
Not in a negative way. Now I've learned to control it. And I think that's how I know that it's powerful, because when you can control it, you can do anything. I mean, not that I haven't had failures, because there's things that haven't worked out for me, but I always feel like I'm going to blow the doors off of this thing. I'm going to break through these walls. We're going to kill this. And sometimes there's, some of the things I spoke about in my TED Talk was that I'll have these insecurities, but when I feel that, I overcompensate for it by working out all those problems ahead of time, by figuring out, overcompensating for it so that it fixes itself. That I know that if I'm going to go into this situation and I'm not sure how this is going to work out, then I overstudy. I look up every possibility, and I'm looking for every contingency. And so I'm prepared when I go into it. And by the time I get to that point now, there's no chance that this isn't working. I'm always believing that I'm going to kill this thing, whatever it is.
Well, and that's the important thing, is that you have to believe in yourself first and foremost, and know that you have the God-given ability and the God-given gift to go after anything in the world you can accomplish. You just have to commit. You just totally have to commit 100%.
When Charles first came to me, I just lost my job as a police officer, and I was hired on this other department that I didn't want to be at. And I remember him coming to my department and asking me if I wanted to start a t-shirt company. And I was thinking, I don't know anything about printing t-shirts. I've never printed a t-shirt in my life, but I loved the idea of back then what was called no holds barred or jiu-jitsu. And I loved jiu-jitsu. He loved jiu-jitsu. And we just wanted to do something in and around that. And we knew that this sport was blowing up. We knew that it was growing. And we knew that there was something here. There was something special here. And I think when you start talking about the things that you really know about, that you're confident about, like I wasn't confident. If somebody would ask me about printing shirts, I'd have been like, oh my gosh, we're done. So we don't know anything about the t-shirt business. We don't really know too much about marketing, although that became our strong point. But what we did know was that this sport was growing quickly and that it was going to be big. Well, I wouldn't say growing quickly. That's probably the wrong words because at that time it was illegal. But we did know that there was something here, that everybody we showed it to was excited about it. Everybody that we talked about it with was excited about it. And if they happen to watch a UFC or they happen to watch something or start training in jiu-jitsu, that they were addicted to it. And there was something there. So when you're talking about things that you feel more comfortable about, that you feel confident about, and that you're confident about your subject matter, whatever that is, you tend to be more in a positive place.
And I guess the reaction, obviously, not I guess, but for sure, if you have that positive reaction from people, then it helps you, it gives you the signals that you're on the right track. So again, you're surrounding yourself on the second half of that journey with people that are excited for you. So that's a good feeling, and that gives you the fuel to push forward. So whatever industry you're in or whatever business you're trying to build, surround yourself with the people that can cause that momentum, that will push that momentum into you going forward. That gives you the confidence to know that you are on the right track and that it is possible.
Yeah, I think I'm sure you probably went through something like that in acting. Like if you had a good response from people about your acting, then you felt very confident about it. But, how did it feel when you got a negative response? Did you ever feel like somebody was coming down on you because you didn't didn't get a part or something?
I had really good coaches that really helped me prepare my mindset. And I think one of the reasons I stepped into that industry is because it was so challenging. And I'm telling you, it's not for everyone because they really do cut you down. But I'm the kind of person that I really love to challenge myself. I don't know, because there is a lot of rejection, but I don't know why. There's just this part of me that enjoyed the challenge. I don't know. If I think about it now, that must have been really tough. And I saw a lot of people break down and turn to things that I know little ones are listening, but they would get lost in a world you could get lost in a world of darkness, depression. Is it me? Is it personally me? Well, I was able to disconnect from that. It is just a role. But what I would find joy in, knowing that I'm probably not going to get this role, I'm going to think outside of the box and try to make them fall. The coaches would say, make them fall in love with you when you go into that room. And it just taught me so much about business and public speaking. And you just have these things that you learn so that people cannot look away from you. So for me, I enjoyed acting. I loved it. I loved taking on the challenge, but there were some roles that I really, really wanted, and I could feel a part of my heart broke. I'm like, they couldn't have said no. Like, I was perfect for this. So yeah, I did have a little bit of heartbreak, but I never took it personal. And I had such great coaches that just poured into me in that sense. Hi, baby.
Yeah, I think, your thoughts have such incredible power.
Yes.
Never
take it personal.
And you have to not take it personal. And the good news about that is because those have so much power, that you also have the power of your own thoughts. So if you control your own thoughts, they can take you in a different direction.
Right.
And you have to be conscious of it, because if you're not conscious of the power that you have over your own thoughts, then those thoughts can just go wild.
Right.
And so you have to control those thoughts when they start getting wild like that. And I think part of that is just the intake, is thinking about the positive things, being grateful for what you have and what you can do.
And the lessons, I think, for every business and for yourself, I think that you can relate to this. When you have a failure or you don't get something, it teaches you a lesson so that the next time you go into for example, a role, you've learned your lesson and you tactically go at it in another way, and then you win, and then it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy. Like, I think
every business.
Walt Disney was fired from his first job for not being creative enough. And, those are like examples of people who probably could have took those things to heart, but didn't get deterred because they've reframed it in their mind, however they did, to get back on track so that they could accomplish what they were looking to, because they knew in themselves. They said, somehow he must have said, how could he say I'm not creative enough? If you reframe it, he must not have understood what I had running through my brain, because I have so much bigger picture that he just doesn't even understand.
The one thing that my mom was really good at when she was raising us was talking power and confidence. And she just chose her words. Now that I think back, she chose her words so wisely about the way she spoke about us. And I feel like the way she talked to us, we truly believed that anything was possible. I mean, from the second I knew that I was pregnant with Daniel, the words were very carefully chosen that I spoke, that even the thoughts that I took, because I don't know how they say that your baby can read your thoughts. I just was so careful with everything I took in, everything I put out, the words. I invite you guys to prime your children, because what you say, they will believe. What you say about yourself, they will believe. My mom was very careful the way she talked about herself. I'm sure she had moments where she wasn't sure, because she prayed. She prayed a lot for answers. But the way you talk about yourself and the way you talk about those children, and you got to speak about your children as if they are the wisest, kindest, smartest, most beautiful and talented humans on earth. What they believe is what they will become.
I think when me and Charles were starting Tap Out, and it was early on, we're both ex-police officers, or I was probably still police officer at the time. We coming from San Bernardino, and just we didn't have a business background, didn't really have anybody to look up to. I was looking up to him because he was like eight years older than I was. Mm-hmm. So I was somewhat looking up to him, but he was still, he's not a business guy either. And he's kind of looking at me for some of those things, because I had started a small business before. So he's looking at me, but I'm, neither of us are really knowing what we're doing. But what I needed to see that other people could make it. I needed to see that somebody like me could create something. And once I understood that, like, I had read books on, or not books, but articles on like Damon John. Later we became, friends. But reading his article, an article on him about how he had started FUBU, and I realized that he was just a regular guy too. A guy who just hustled, had great ideas, and how can he get his name out there, and how can, and he was like in this, almost, even though hip hop was a different thing, it was growing. He was like at that same ground floor level when he started FUBU, and he was able to grow this company into, this $100 million, multi-$100 million company, or now maybe $1 billion company. And we were kind of in the same place. So we were at that place at that time when, we're at these beginning stages, didn't know a lot about the business, but we believed that we could create something big because the sport was growing so fast. And
the stories that you had around you, I think that has a huge influence.
See that was possible.
Right.
And then when I realized that was possible, that self-talk changed.
Right.
Because I became this this police officer in me came out.
Right.
If they could do it, I can do it. I'm not going to lose. I'm not going to die here on the floor.
I can agree with that 100%. And growing up, being in business, that I feel was such a gift because the conversations that were had in the store, in the antique store, in the jewelry store, especially the jewelry store, because those were the successful entrepreneurs, attorneys, doctors, buying gifts. And my mom was really great at opening them up to conversations, and she would share her struggle of coming to the country as an immigrant, and they would open up and share their stories of failures and sometimes bankruptcies. But then here they are back on their feet. I would have that in my back pocket as a child. And then growing up, as you were saying, looking up to these entrepreneurs. And for me, quotes were really big, as yourself. So that was something we would for me, I would stick these quotes all over my walls of different entrepreneurs. And I love the fact that, yes, they're all just normal human beings that have failed once, twice, sometimes many times. And then here they are back on their feet and they made it. I love those stories.
Yeah, almost more times the better. When you hear about their failures,
and it's just
you realize
I can
how much
do it
is
too.
possible.
Yes.
I needed to see that these people were just like me and they were able to make it.
Yeah.
I think that's what made, I've told the story before about Tony Robbins and how just watching his infomercial and him highlighting the fact that certain people were just normal people and that they were, through their mindset, able to make it.
Right.
And I realized how important the mindset was at that time.
Yeah.
That really played a part in, ultimately, and I think I told the story that ultimately 10 years later, I had ran into Tony Robbins in a hotel and told him about, how he had changed my life.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And told him about how his teachings on mindset and being able to control the way you think changed the way I was thinking, and I think played a huge part in our success.
Yeah.
And ultimately, he put me on his infomercial. And, it's like, that is just
so fun.
The craziness, how this can come full circle.
And again, just speak into your children, because I said, because it reminded me the story when you were talking of Thomas Edison. I love his story of how his teacher sent him home because, do you know this story?
Oh, about the letter that she had sent home with him, and I don't think he could read at the time.
The teacher sent him home saying that he was mentally deficient, basically that he wasn't smart enough to be in school. So his mother told him that he was so smart. I don't know.
She had read the letter. I think she had read the letter to him.
Right.
And
held back her tears as a strong mama bear, mama
put her
lion,
own twist of words on it.
And told him he was the most beautiful and smartest child and that the school wasn't good enough. So she had to homeschool him. And he became the genius of the century because he believed it.
Yeah, because she had instilled that belief in him.
That just popped into my head. I love that.
And
story.
imagine how that could have affected him, because he took that with him.
Exactly.
And it just changed. It may have changed his whole mindset.
Absolutely. 100%.
And that's what we all need to be doing. I read somewhere that, because I believe the reason why a lot of us, fail, if we fail or have these setbacks, is because
they're lessons.
The enemy is putting these negative thoughts in our head, and we really have to be careful about those things because
it's all a lie. It's a lie.
I read exactly that Satan's best lie is that will never happen. Whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're trying to do, I could hear him whispering in the back of my head. And, if you're listening, he's probably whispered in your ear a few times. That will never happen. Whatever you're thinking about, that will never happen.
Well, he can't read your thoughts, so never talk about these things out loud. Never commit to the negative thought. Like, you could train yourself to dodge the thoughts, turn it into something else, acknowledge that that is the devil. That is the devil. Don't say it out loud. Do not commit to it.
Don't
never commit
refuse
to
to
it.
believe it.
Nope, never commit to it.
So what
I
are
love
some of
that
the fixes that we can do? What are some of the things that can change people's self-talk, the way they speak to themselves? Because it's so, so important, especially when you don't have a lot of wins under your belt yet. Because I think what gave me self-confidence is as you start to have these little wins throughout your life, throughout your, especially your business career or whatever it might be, as you start to have these little wins throughout your life, you start to gain self-confidence.
Confidence, yes.
And
the momentum.
Yeah, and it gives you this momentum.
Yeah.
But before you get to that point, there's a danger of believing the negative around you, the people that might either tell you, well, that's probably impossible. You
Right.
see some YouTube star and you're thinking, oh, I could never do that. Or especially, somebody will tell you that's not possible for us because we come from here, or because we're this person,
gosh, that's
or
terrible.
because we don't have the money. Somebody will always give you a reason why
Let me just tell you
can't.
that anything is possible. You just need to learn as much as you can about the thing that you are going after. I think one of the main things, if you can, surround yourself with the people that know more than you about the thing that you're trying to go after. Surround yourself with people that are going to build you up, not pull you down. The people that you feel most confident around, not that don't make you second guess yourself. If you don't have that, listen to a podcast that is going to uplift you, to make you feel like anything is possible. Read books.
In
Most of the
2024,
successful
there's
people
so much more around you.
There's so much
that you may not have had 20 years ago that
Right.
weren't available to you,
Right.
especially in the way that they are today. But between podcasts and audiobooks and
Consuming
coaches,
content,
there's
coaching.
YouTube, there's no excuse anymore. There's no excuse. There's way too much out there to help get your mindset straight,
Right.
so that you don't have these types of issues.
And the words that you say, the words that you think have immense power. I would say, and this is something that I learned as a little girl, and I know that my kids, when they get scared or something, they don't ever have thoughts of that they can't do anything, because they truly believe anything is possible. But they do have whispers of fear. But my daughter yesterday, she already said, I'm feeling scared, but I know that that's a lie. So can we pray together? Because I do know that in the Bible that God says to fear not. So let's get this feeling out of my head. This is something that I learned when I was young. Whatever it is, pray about it. Pray about it and thank God like it's already happened. Thank you, God, for bringing the right people into my life and weeding out the wrong people. Whatever it is. I'm just giving you a little example of some of the things that I say when I'm praying like it's already happened. I'm not in a good spot. Pray like it's already happened. Thank God for the blessings that you do have. You cannot be scared and grateful at the same time.
Yes, prayer's so powerful.
You can't have negative thoughts at the same time. Once you're
can't.
Grateful. So
And our daughter's doing
I
cartwheels
lost my
and-
thought, but you know what I'm saying. She's doing cartwheels, and I've got my weights around here. So she's
Be
a little
careful.
firecracker, but she knows anything is possible.
I love
my
what
gosh.
Joel Osteen says. He says that when a negative thought comes your what does he say? I can't remember the words now. When a negative thought comes into your mind, erase it and replace it. That's what
Yes,
he says.
erase it and
replace
replace
it.
it.
And it's like because it's important to not only get that negative thought out of
Yes.
your mind, but then replace it with something
that you
so
say
that-
out loud because
so you just
can't,
change your whole mindset.
Exactly. The thought will come, and then say it out loud in a positive way. And then you know who, the enemy, he'll run the other way.
If there's anything that you're going through right now, there's so much material out there to just change everything, your whole mindset. that, were not available 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
So
we're so fortunate today in 2024. So if you need to, whether that's speak to somebody, get a coach, get on YouTube, read the right book. There's so many audiobooks and regular reading books, whatever type of intake you like. And it's just, there's so much content out there for you to be able to take in. Did you just say that on our podcast?
I did.
You really just say that?
Because someone else may need it too.
That you can take this information in, get your head straight. Self-talk is so important. I think it's so important in a positive way, but also to make sure you're not doing it in a negative way.
Yes.
So thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Pretty and Punk podcast.
Ooh, real quick.
And
do the inventory, because the 5 people that you surround yourself with, you will become. So make sure that they're thinking positive and talking positive.
And thank you guys for tuning in. If you know anybody who this can help, anybody who's going through something like this, who's starting a new business, who's down on themselves a little bit, not only help them out, but maybe help them out by sending in this podcast.
Yes.
Let them know that everybody goes through this stuff. And that's something that's so important, that they're not alone. You're not alone in this journey, that we've all gone through this. No matter where you are on that journey, that you can always be better, and that you should look back and try to help other people that are behind you.
Yes,
so thank you guys
100%.
For tuning in. Our kids here, and this whole podcast is going to a whole nother place. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next week.
God bless.
Time for Jesus song. Your goodness is running out.
Oh, I love
Don't forget to subscribe. Go to the podcast.
Oh, God bless you guys. Thank you for tuning in.
Go picnic.
Go picnic. Go picnic. We're going to have a picnic tomorrow. God bless you guys. And
Thank you guys for joining the podcast. See you next week.
Enjoyed this episode of the Pretty and Punk podcast. Make sure to subscribe and like. We love you guys. God bless. We are listening to the Pretty and